Do you have any funny stories, something crazy that happened during your auction career?
Well, you know, there's been so many different fun things. I've said every auction is different, and I was selling a fundraising auction one time, and there was approximately 1,000 people in the ballroom, and someone had ordered one of those singing telegrams. So I was selling the items, and all of a sudden a young lady hopped up on a table and started singing happy birthday to one of the guests back there. And so anyway, people obviously were looking at her, not at me, and I waited till she was done, and we went right on with the auction and so on. And so that was, you know, that was kind of fun. You know, there's been so many other different things that have happened through the years, and sometimes, of course, you can't plan them. Something that's really not on the funny line, but I always like Paul Harvey. And Paul Harvey, of course, would tell the story about the rest of the story, about someone in people's lives and so on. And it's always interesting to me, because I'm around a lot of auctioneers, people equate their auctioneering with their ability, and sometimes whether they like them or they dislike them, or how much they like them or dislike them, or most of the time not dislike, but how much they like them. Anyway, I was selling a farm sale one time, and there was an old guy way over by a windmill, and I saw him over there. He was way into his 80s, late 80s. And so his name was Ambrose Rooney, and I said, folks, when you get a chance, go over and say hello to Ambrose Rooney. Ambrose Rooney's from the greatest generation. He spent 4.5 years in Europe fighting Hitler, and was part of the generation that saved the world. And he actually was under patent in Europe. And so Ambrose had an eye shot out in Europe. And so I introduced him and said, please go over and say hello to him. He was maybe, you know, 100 feet away. He was just leaning by a windmill, and he went like this. Like, don't say that. Don't, you know, I don't want your recognition. And so we went out to the auction. A couple hours later, I was selling the flat racks, and then I said, I'm going to take a break, and I'll be back in a few minutes, and here's so-and-so to sell. When I opened the back of the truck, there Ambrose was with his dark glasses. He always wore dark glasses because of his eye shot out. And I see a little tear coming down. He said, thank you, Paul. I appreciate what you said. And even though, you know, I actually learned something that day, even though sometimes people say, no, 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 they mean thank you, thank you, thank you. And, you know, Ambrose is still alive. But, you know, little things like that. I always think at auction school, there's a lady that's 80 years old that does the cleaning in the hotel. And I always tell her what a great job she does, and what a nice lady she is, and so on. There's a lot of people that, you know, are just regular people that aren't up on stage, that don't get the accolades or the credit that sometimes an auctioneer does. But they are certainly valuable and have quite a story to tell themselves.
All right, last question. A little bit of advice for upcoming auctioneers.
Oh, that's a pretty easy one. A little bit of advice for upcoming auctioneers. Absolutely, the number one thing is just maintain your integrity. You know, we're all different, men and women, young boys or young girls, and sometimes we'll have kids as young as 10, 11 years old that come to auction school. And I always say, you know, you can learn values, and you can practice your bid call, and you can do better and practice harder and so on. But if you ever lose your integrity, that's one thing that you can't get back, and it's the only thing that'll stop you from being a professional auctioneer. And if somebody doesn't want to do business with you, if they think that you're not correct, or you're not fair, or you're not honest, they will, of course, not do business with them. And interestingly enough, you know, at auction school, we work the tar out of those students. The very first day, I say we're going to work hard and we're going to have fun. And boy, we work hard and we have a lot of fun, David. And on the very first thing on our qualities of the successful auctioneer is integrity. And interestingly enough, in this day and age, and today's date is, I think, July 14, 2010. In this day and age, a lot of times people don't think about integrity until they're reminded of it, or until they kind of get an explanation of it. And you know, interestingly enough, people want to be honest, and they want to have a good name, and they want to do the right thing. I find very few people that really have an agenda just to, you know, do wrong or whatever. And so integrity, without a doubt, is the #1 thing that we do as auctioneers, and the #1 advice I'd give to auctioneers.
Well, on behalf of the National Auctioneers Foundation, we appreciate the interview.
Thank you, David. Thank you, NAA.